everyone, I'm Mia McCormick here with a couple of the Photoshop guys, RC Concepcion.
What's going on, everybody?
And Corey Barker.
Hello.
So guys, have you got all your holiday shopping done? You guys are all ready, decorations are
I'm
up?
always down to the wire.
Yeah, I'm close. I've done some shopping. I think I've got the key prizes, kind of like the key gifts kind of set up. I bought something for myself. It's really for her, but
Of course.
That's always how it goes. We never get what we want.
You always use that same excuse. Right?
yeah, I'm like, she's gonna love this marble set.
Yeah.
Of course she is.
She'll love it for 10 minutes. Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, one of the big things at my house is holiday cards. We send out holiday cards every single year. Okay. But that doesn't really address where we spend a lot of our time talking to people, with our family and friends. That's online. Right. So one of the things we're going to do today is kind of create an online holiday greeting, right?
Sure.
So we're using two programs to do this. Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Lightroom, and that's part of a Creative Cloud bundle, the photography bundle from Adobe. It's only $9.99 a month. You can click on that link below if you want to get there. It's a great deal, a great gift for a photographer. I mean, who this if you're taking pictures?
$10 a month too. At that, all of the versions.
And that's not even a special price. That's the actual price.
The
right?
price.
Yes. Exactly.
So you get all of that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much all of the stuff that we're using. We're just using Lightroom. We're going to use Photoshop. We'll put all that stuff together in one spot.
Your last minute gift covered right here.
That's right. That's right.
Well, to get started with a holiday card or an online greeting card, the first thing you need is a picture. Mr. Pete Collins is going to show you how to take a great holiday picture.
Well, this is going to take your Christmas photography to the next level. If you're wanting to play around, you want to do something a little bit different, usually the first thing you're going to think about is getting the flash off your camera and maybe trying some modifiers. So I wanted to talk to you about how to use an umbrella and kind of get the best out of the umbrella. So what I've got here is I've got this set up, and you don't necessarily have to do it this way, but this is how I like to do it, is instead of just a simple straight light stand, I actually have this wonderful conversion from Manfrotto that has a boom arm to it. And this is a little side tip, a la Larry Becker. This is kind of my little cheap trick right here. When you're shooting, instead of putting a sandbag or a weight on here, because you're going to want to balance out the weight up there, I've just grabbed a couple water bottles. This is awesome for when you're in the field. Once you get done with the shoot, you can just pop those off, take a little drink or whatever, and you're not carrying that extra weight of the sandbag. You're always going to need some hydration. So just a couple cable ties and a couple water bottles, and it's balanced that out. The reason why I want to do this with the boom arm is to get the umbrella as close as possible to create as soft a surrounding light as I can. So what I've done is you want to make sure to get your flash as far back as possible on the umbrella so that it spreads out and hits the main area of the umbrella. Some people tend to slide this up and get closer, and it creates a hot spot right in the middle. But what you want to do is you want to get it all the way back. And so now I've got my wife and my two older kids, because if you've seen my class on Kelby 1, you've seen that it's my wife and the younger kids, so I've now brought them in. I'm just going to put him up here as an example for us, what to do. And I'm going to do simply, I'm going to turn it off. The way you want to do your flashes is you want to expose for the ambient light. Now here's the thing, we've got a lot of studio lights and stuff going on. So what I would do if this was a normal Christmas morning or whatever, I'd come in, I'd take a shot and get the exposure so that the background and all looks right. I'm exposing for the ambient. Once I get that set up, now I'm going to turn on my flash and I'm going to start raising or lowering the amount of flash until I get the right amount of light on them. And I'm using a Photix trigger on the camera that's sending up to trigger off my flash right up top there. And now I've got it all in manual, so I'm just simply going to trial and error. Usually I do this without them standing there making fun of me, because if your family is like mine, they're like, come on, Dad, this is ridiculous. As a matter of fact, that's what they've been doing all morning in the studio. But so what I do is I get the ambient, I get them in there, and I start taking a little bit of a test, fire it off. If it's a little too hot, I can lower the flash. If it's a little too soft, I raise it up. And eventually what I do is once I get that all set up, now I turn on my flash. That was without the flash. And now this is with the flash. And I get the right exposure that I need. Then I can grab my three-legged thing tripod, drop it in there. I've got all my exposures set. I've got my umbrella set up, and I'm just going to simply put this on a timer. You should know how to do that. It's just right up there. If your eyesight's as bad as mine, you might need to get one of your kids to come in and look at it for you. Now I'm just simply gonna set that for 10 seconds, mosey on over, and I'm gonna get right here in the back. And as soon as that 10 seconds is over, it should be a good exposure. We're going to show you those exposures, and you can see how the light has given us a nice light from upright. One of the things you want to remember when you're using a light like this is you want to bring it up high as if it's coming just like we're used to seeing with our lights in the ceilings. You don't want to get it down too low because you get raccoon eyes, and you also get shadows on the other people behind them. So anyway, that's a quick way that you can throw in an umbrella to give you an extra soft light, give you a little bit extra depth to your pictures, and it's really going to help out and take your Christmas photos to the next level. Okay, now this is not the ideal place to show the difference because we're in a studio that has no roof and has no extra walls. And the reason why you might choose a softbox over an umbrella is because of the controllability of the light and how the light is only going to be directed out and down in this area, whereas when you take an umbrella and you bounce that light in there, it hits not only the umbrella and gives a nice soft light for that, but it also bounces off the walls, it hits everything, and so it lights everything up. Sometimes you want to have a little more control, and that's where a softbox comes in because now it creates just this puddle of light that goes directly there and doesn't affect the background. That's a lot of where you're going to find that this will outshine an umbrella as far as direction and control, but an umbrella is so simple, so easy. It's usually the first light modifier that you go to. So the big difference, you still want to get it as close as possible. I'm using the boom to get it up overhead so it just washes over them, but it's not going to hit the back wall as much. It's not going to create the shadows that could be a little problematic in a confined space like your living room or something like that. So now I just set it up the same way. What I'm going to do is I shoot to get the ambient light as if I don't have the light box turned on. I take a picture and I kind of like the exposure for that. Now what I will do is I'll turn on my softbox, my flash up there, and just like before, it's set for manual, and I'm just going to raise and lower the light till I get that right balance of ambient to my softbox light. And for this one, I'm shooting at f6.3 at 1/60th of a second. And because it's got so much stuff going on here, I'm fairly high ISO just to play around with this. So now once I get that all set up, I take a test shot. I like the way the light is on that. So now I bring in my three-legged thing tripod. I throw this up on it. It's always hard to look cool when you're putting something on a tripod. No matter how much I've tried to act cool when I do this and when I move these things around, when you're using your grip, you tend to look a little clumsy. It just happens that way. All right, and as my boys would say, I'm a dork anyway, so here we go. All right, so now I set this for my timer. I've got it framed up. My boys are looking completely perturbed with their dad and how cool he is. And now I come in here, I wait for the 10 seconds. And we'll be able to show before and after photos, and we'll be able to look. This is the one with the umbrella. And now here's the one with a softbox. Granted, it's going to be a little bit easier to tell when you're not in a studio environment, but that's going to be some of the big difference, the controlling of the light. So just remember, you set all that up, you test, you shoot for the ambient, and then you bring in your light and you raise it up and down according to what you're going to need, and hopefully you're going to get some great pictures from that.
Thanks so much, Pete. Now listen, one of the benefits of working with Lightroom is the fact that you can do a lot of these corrections very, very easy. Pete was able to give us a shot, and we have it set up here. Looks pretty good. Nice little family here. What I want to do is I just want to be able to make some basic corrections on this, right? So right off the bat, you'll see that you have the picture that's here, and we have a film strip at the bottom. I can go ahead and twirl that down and give myself a little bit more space. You can take your exposure slider, and you can bring your exposure slider and bring it just a little bit over to the right, which will go ahead and it'll increase the overall brightness of the image when we're working with it. So anytime that you're a little underexposed at the shot, exposure is usually a great way to do that. But when you're also working with a picture, you'll notice that you'll have problems in shadows and highlights. So that happens to be probably some of the biggest problems that you'll have. So immediately I'll jump right into the shadows and the highlight sections of things. You'll notice that as I drag the slider over to the right, we start revealing a good portion of that tree that sits in the background, but the key portion of it the faces tend to stay in one exposure. So it isolates that information there. Now, over here on this side, we probably have a little bit of a heat issue, right? A little overexposed. I can always grab that highlight and bring that right back down just a tiny bit and cover some of that information. Any white balance issues can be covered by just adjusting your temperature and your tint. Right? It tended to look a little orange. I wanted to be able to cut that down. I would even use my vibrance, which is almost kind of like a smart saturation, and pull some of that color off. The best way for you to think about this is if you use saturation, all of the colors that you're working with are evenly adjusted up. So reds will get redder, greens will get greener, blues will get bluer across the board. When you're working with saturation, what will happen is it'll say, any color that happens to be overrepresented in an image, I'm going to adjust more. Any color that's underrepresented in an image or not used so much, or any color that's overrepresented in an image, it doesn't really touch so much. It's a little bit backwards here. So if you have something that's like really, really red, it's not going to adjust it as much, right? Any color that's underrepresented or muted, right? So let's say these colors over here are probably a little bit muted. As you grab vibrance and move it all the way over to the right, it goes, well, these don't have as much representation. Let's go ahead and add some more colors to that. And any skin tone colors are usually blocked out. So you can adjust the vibrance and kind of just pull out a little bit of tinging or color fringing and things like that. Color contamination, it's a good way to be able to do it. So just a little bit of a drop in brightness right there. Takes a little bit of the bite off of that color. Now you have a nice even picture that you can use for any other cards. From there, all I would have to do is just right click on export, select export, and then send that out. Now, that gives us a good base. We have to obviously do some more stuff to this.
Right, because that's just the image itself. It's just the picture. It looks good, but if you want to really give it that holiday twinkle, right, the zing to it, that's where you bring Photoshop into the picture.
That's right.
And the guy for that is Corey.
Indeed. So, so RZ passed the photo along to me. He already made some adjustments to it, and I've got it right here. So I thought, what's a common thing among family photos is creating a very kind of festive border on it. So I've got a stock image here that I found that actually is a few different collections of these type of garland effects here. Now, I like the one at the top right up here, so I'm simply going to go to my channels palette, and there's my blue channel, which is the darkest to that background. So this is quickly and easily how you can extract these things. I'm going to duplicate that blue channel, invert it, and then I'm just going to do a fill. Notice there's some little bit of grays inside of that area there. So I'm going to do white in overlay mode. What that's going to do is force those grays to white and leave the blacks alone. Old trick. Still use it to this day. So now that channel is nice and clean. So I'm going to command click on it and load it as an active selection, return to the main layer, and then simply press Command J. Now all three of those are nicely extracted. But I am only interested in the top one right now. So I'm going to take my lasso tool and just draw a selection around that one.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Before you go anywhere with that, I noticed that you were drawing outside of the box. Why'd you draw all the way outside of the box?
Well, because I want to make sure I'm encompassing the entire thing, so I just go all the way out, but it automatically snaps to the edge, regardless of whether you're outside like that.
Okay, a little tip. Thought it was kind of neat.
Exactly. All right, so I've got that border selected, so I'm going to go ahead and just shift drag it over. It's pretty high res, so it's going to be pretty big. So I'm going to press Command T and then Command 0 to expand my document. And let's just kind of bring this in and actually position it right up about top right there. Now, I want to kind of carry this around the image, but I want to get rid of this kind of harsh edge here. So here's a cool little trick. I'm just going to do a little bit of a loose selection right here like that. And then do Refine Edge. And then just use that Refine Radius tool and just brush in that area there. And it gives me a nice, smooth transition of that area. Then I'll hit OK and then hit Delete. So now it looks like there's no harsh edge there. So now what I can do is Option Drag, or Option Shift rather. I'm going to hold down Option to make the duplicate, and then Shift to drag the duplicate over this way. And then we'll go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal.
Oh, okay.
And there we have our nice border. So I'm going to go ahead and merge those two layers together, and then just, again, Option drag down. This time we will flip this vertically and position it right down there. Now notice how this top one is really kind of cutting their heads off here, especially with Pete here. So I'm going to actually turn these off for the moment, and let's do this. I'm going to go and get my crop tool. And let's set my background color to black. Now I'm just going to increase the canvas area just a little bit. And let's turn those back on and see what we've got going on there. There we go. So now that one I'm just going to move back up. So now we can see Pete much better now. We're covering that area we expanded anyway.
Right.
So again, I'm going to make a duplicate, and let's just make this one side here. And then once again, going around here. And there we have that. Now, I want to merge all these together because I like the coloring, but still a little vibrant. It doesn't really, kind of work. So I'm going to make a duplicate of that layer after I've merged them together, and then desaturate. Shift-Command-U is going to remove that color, and I'm going to change this to multiply, and then drop the opacity down. So boost that contrast a little bit. Now, I want to add lights. So,
of course you want to add lights. Well, I think it's good. You know what? Well, just before I cut you off on any of that stuff, one of the things that I think is great about this is that I don't want to necessarily break the bank, like intellectually, making these kinds of things. I want one technique, I want two techniques, and I want to be able to do it fast. So all you've done really here is just kind of take your selection, make one selection, and then just duplicate it over and over. So once you've done that once, I think you'll find that it actually is pretty easy. So why not lights?
Yes,
right?
exactly. So as far as lights go, I actually like doing things like that as a brush. Now what I've done is in my brush, now notice right here I've got a brush that's in the shape of those traditional Christmas light bulbs.
All right.
So I'm going to select that, and if I paint with it, you can see that nothing happens. Well, it's because it's on the wrong layer. So it just paints like that. That's not exactly what we're looking for here. So first thing is I'm going to make the brush a little bit smaller. Then let's go in the brush panel and play with the behavior here. So I'm going to activate shape dynamics and just increase the size jitter a little bit. I'm going to take the angle jitter here and bring it all the way to 100%. And then even kind of boost the roundness jitter a little bit. So it just kind of keeps it, the size a little bit varying. Then I'm going to go back to the brush tip shape section, go down here to spacing. And let's just increase the spacing quite a bit. And you'll see it spaces them apart. Now, as I do this, I'm just going to paint and see how it looks. I'm actually going to make them a little bit smaller. There we go. Now let's add a little bit of scattering to this. I'm going to do it on both axes. Let's just increase that a little bit. And we'll maybe increase that spacing just a little bit more. You're probably thinking, those lights are white. That's not very festive. Well, let's make them color. So I'm actually going to go to color dynamics. And I want to make sure my hue jitter here is at 100%. Now, when you do the hue jitter for this brush, you have to start with a color. You can't do black or white. It doesn't vary the color that way. So I'm going to choose, well, let's just get this like bright pink color here. And then now we've got varying colors. So I'm just going to take that and just kind of paint around the border here. If only putting Christmas lights up
were that easy, right?
All right, so there are the lights. Now, they look like lights, but they're not exactly illuminated. They don't look like festive yet. So I'm going to take and make a duplicate of this layer. Because here's what you need. I want to put a glow on these lights, like they're actually on. And if I did something like an outer glow layer style, the problem with that is that it does one color glow. And you've got multiple colored lights here. So that presents a challenge. I could go in here and if you really wanted to take the time, put each bulb on its separate layer and then put a glow on it. Nobody has that kind of time. So here's a cool trick. On that duplicate layer, notice I've got two layers of these lights. On the duplicate layer, we're going to go to Filter, go to Other, and choose Minimum. What this does is it expands the state of that particular object, whatever object's on that layer. So I'm going to preserve roundness, and I think that size looks pretty good. So I'm going to click OK. Then we're going to go to Filter and go to Blur and do a really massive Gaussian blur on it. So about 40 pixels there. And then I'll click OK there. And then I'm going to change the screen, or the blend mode, to screen. Now they're looking like they're actually illuminated lights. Now, the light bulbs themselves still look a little flat. So to just give them a little bit of dimension, I'm going to add a quick little layer style to that. Do a quick bevel and emboss. I'm going to turn the shadow down to 0. And I'm going to turn off Use Global Light, and I'm just going to position the angle kind of toward the center here, and then increase the size. And that's going to put a little bit of a specular on those bulbs, so it gives them a little bit of dimension. And then there we have our festive border created
Not bad, not bad, Mr. Corey Barker. And that's one of those things where it's like basic components. Basic components just turned on their head to see some really, really cool stuff. Good job, dude.
And everything you guys did is in Lightroom and in Photoshop.
Basic stuff.
All part of that bundle, the Creative Cloud, $9.99 a month. It's a great deal.
That's right. I mean, look, if you can master these basic techniques, you'd be surprised as to how much of that stuff you can do to other types of pictures. The techniques, I think, are applicable now for the holidays, but you can really kind of take these things further and further.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, all right, so we have that picture, right? So it's all pretty much done. I've got the production side of it, right? It looks good. You could take this one picture here, and let's take a look at it here, and, right, that looks pretty good. Okay, I can use that. Now, you could post that on Facebook, or you could add this to a card layout. You can go to MPix and do a DIY card. Right? A lot of people don't know that, right? Usually what I'll do for my own holiday things is I'll go here, I'll go to cards, I'll go to DIY cards, and under the DIY cards, I just
there you have it.
Plop the picture, that's it, rather than using somebody else's design. Look, I'm a Photoshop guy. I want to use my own design. That's kind of the way to do it. So that would be one option for myself. But what we're doing right now is we're actually going to put this on Facebook. I'm going to show you guys a really, really cool trick. So inside of here, let's go into Photoshop. And in Photoshop, I'm going to build a new design, right? So the design that I want to set up is going to have a 958 pixel wide border. Then on top of that, you're going to have a height of about 419. The resolution for this is going to be 72 pixels per inch, obviously because we're using stuff on the web. I don't necessarily want to do this over and over and over. So for me, I would just call this, you know, RC's Facebook Christmas. All right, well, that's going to be the name of the title, but if I want to save this, I would just save this preset, and the preset would be Facebook Profile preset. All right. Click OK. Now, anytime that I need it, I could always just go right to that one thing. There's the name of the title. I'm going to click OK. Now, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to set up an area where if you look on Facebook, I'm going to go on Facebook. The one time that I can actually do Facebook for the show and have it be relevant is here on your own Facebook page, you have a profile picture. And inside of here, you have a square. I want these two to work together so that they can build one picture. So in order to do that, I need to know the distances here. I need to know the distances here between this white stroke. I need to know the distances to the bottom of this. I need to know the width and the height. So we've already built the width and the height to this all the way down to the bottom of this banner. Now we need to be able to give ourselves some guides here so that we can do that inset picture. So to do that, we'll go ahead and set up a series of guides. Now I've set this to pixels. If you haven't set this to pixels, you could always right-click right on your ruler and select pixels from the list. We can go to the window, or actually here, let's go to the view menu. And under the view menu, let's go ahead and knock out all of your vertical guides first. So we'll go under the new guide. We're going to do vertical, and I'm going to set 18 pixels. So now you have a vertical guide at 18 pixels. Hit the enter key. There's your first one. We need one about 5 pixels in after that. So what we'll do is we'll just go back to a new guide. We're going to make the next one at 23. We'll go ahead and we'll make one more over at 203. And then we'll make one more 5 pixels after that at around 208. So that takes care of the width going from left to right. Now I want to do the top to bottom portion of it. So from here, I'm going to set up a new guide, and I'm going to go to the horizontal. I didn't want to mix them because every time that you select a guide, it'll stay on that one radio button. So may as well just get all of the guides going one way, then get all of the guides going the opposite direction. So right off the bat, 195 is going to be the first guide. Then from there, 5 pixels past that is going to be 200. So that takes care of the top portion of that profile picture. Then from there, view this new guide that we're going to do here is going to be at around 355. That is going to be the top of the banner picture. And it also seals out this profile right there. So the new guide from there is going to be 381. And from there, the last one that we're going to be doing is going to be at around 386. We'll get that all set up there. So it's kind of hard to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this with black so that you can see what it is that we're working on here. So this square that we have here is your profile square, and that one section there. This square that you have here is the banner picture square. right? And these guides kind of help you because of that spacing for that white border that you'll see in this one section here. So it takes care of a lot of that work. Truthfully, do I do all of that stuff when I'm working with it? No, I've taken a lot of this stuff, and before you start doing any of those, I'll go over here to the actions panel inside of Photoshop, and inside of Photoshop, I have an action that's built for that. So as soon as I start my template, I open it up, I go, you know what, I need all of those guides. I click one button, it sets up all of the guides, and I'm done. I don't have anything else, any other things that I have to do for that. So from here, the next thing that I wanted to do is obviously drop the picture. So I'll come over here, I'll go to the desktop, I'm gonna grab the one here, and drag it inside of this one area, and it's gonna do a place. This will let me kind of space it out, get it all organized, and once we have it in that one section there, Command Enter, we're pretty much good from there. Need to write some happy holidays, don't necessarily know if I have any kind of fonts that are associated for that. Go to the Creative Cloud. Make sure that you go in this one section here. You'll notice that you have assets. Under your assets, you have a set of fonts that you can select from. In this case, I'm going to be using Lush Script that I got from Typekit. If you need to add additional fonts from Typekit, you would just click on the Add Fonts from Typekit. It brings you to the Typekit website, which lets you then go, all right, well, what kind of font are you looking for? Let's say that I'm looking for, let's say, a script font. I'm looking for either web use, which would give you embed codes that you can throw into headers and JavaScripts and things like that for applying to a website, or desktop use, which actually gives you the file synchronized between the cloud. Now, under the desktop use, there's a series of fonts that you can use from here. Let's say that I wanted to use this San Vito. I would click on Use Fonts, sync the selected font, click Close. I go right back into this one section here, and as soon as that font is synced, I'll get a message that tells me from here that font is synced. There's San Vito. Now, all I have to do is just come over here, click and drag in this one section, and I'll type in San Vito. All right, I want you to see what it looks like. I'll go over here. There's my San Vito. Now we have that font. Now, obviously, I didn't want that font. I didn't want that right there, so I'm just going to type in Happy Holidays, and then I'm going to switch back over here. I'll just hit L or type in the word Lush, select the font from there, and now use the Move tool with a little bit of a transform, bring it over to this one section. Once we have that there, we can transform it down, maybe give it a little bit of a rotation. We'll move it over to the left here, and now he's all set. So this is the picture that we would use for Facebook. Now, you have a couple of different elements in here, right? So if you go to the window menu, you'll notice that under the layer section, we have Happy Holidays, and we have this, and we have the background. You could just shift all of these elements, do a Command E for merging, and now we're ready to copy some stuff out. So using your marquee tool, drag from the left corner all the way to the bottom of that 355 pixel, do a copy, Command N for a new document. It uses the dimensions of that copied selection, and I'm just going to call this Profile. We'll paste this, we'll do a Command E for merging, and we'll save it. And we'll save this and call this Profile. Now, once we have that set, I'm going to come back over here, and we'll take this one square right here that goes from guide to guide, and that's why you wanted to set up the guides. You didn't want to take any guesswork about how to be able to do this. All you wanted to do is just be able to drag, select, and done. You can even save this as a template for you to use later. I'm going to copy, new. I'm going to paste this. Let's do a Command E again for merging, and we'll save. And now this is the square. We'll save that. We'll close that. Now that we have that set, we can go over to Facebook. And inside of Facebook, obviously people are going to get freaked out over my own thing here. I'm just going to update the cover photo. I'm going to upload the photo. I'm going to upload the profile. That puts the Happy Holidays there. We'll save the changes there. Then we're going to update the profile picture. And we're going to upload a photo here. We're going to take the square. We'll save that as a profile picture. And you'll notice that the entire thing now fits from one side to another. And we're just kind of playing with it and kind of doing some really, really simple things with it, right? I just didn't want to necessarily have 2 repeating pictures there, but you could really kind of take this to the next level. You could put a little elf staring over here. You can do something where this picture is kind of reacting to the bigger picture that's there, but it's a good start to get people, when they're looking at your Facebook page, to go, oh wow, happy, wait a minute, how did they do that? Very simple inside of Photoshop.
You guys have done a great job teaching people how to make a kick-butt holiday card to share online. So, great job.
Thank you very much.
2 programs, super
That's it.
simple. Go try it yourself at home.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you guys next year. Happy holidays to one and all. Bye.